Cannabis and the Law, a journey from reefer madness to legalization. The story of cannabis in the context of law is a remarkable saga that intertwines culture, politics, and social justice. From its demonization during the Reefer Madness era to its current status as a medicinal and recreational substance in many jurisdictions, the fight for marijuana reform has a complex history. In this video, we will explore how cannabis transitioned from a widely accepted crop to a stigmatized substance, and how the tides are turning once again as we move toward widespread legalization. The journey of cannabis began long before it became embroiled in legal battles. For thousands of years, people have utilized cannabis for various purposes, including textiles, nutrition, and medicine. However, the early 20th century marked a dramatic shift. Fueled by the increasing fear of the unknown and driven by economic interests, the campaign against cannabis gained momentum. In the 1930s, the infamous passage of the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 effectively criminalized cannabis. This legislation was based on misinformation and sensationalist narratives, most notably the Reefer Madness campaign that portrayed marijuana as a dangerous drug leading to insanity and violence. The propaganda surrounding cannabis stoked public fears and established a stigma that would linger for decades. The roots of this criminalization were deeply intertwined with racial and socioeconomic factors. Cannabis use was often associated with marginalized communities, particularly African Americans and Mexican immigrants, leading to discriminatory enforcement of the law. This laid the groundwork for a systemic approach to marijuana prohibition that disproportionately affected these groups. The narrative of cannabis took a dark turn with the advent of the war on drugs in the late 20th century. The Controlled Substances Act of 1970 classified marijuana as a Schedule I drug, placing it in the same category as heroin and LSD. This classification suggested that cannabis had a high potential for abuse and no accepted medical use, despite a growing body of evidence suggesting otherwise. The war on drugs, championed by policymakers, led to aggressive law enforcement strategies aimed at eradicating drug use. Cannabis users faced harsh penalties, and incarceration rates skyrocketed. This period not only perpetuated the criminal stigma but also highlighted disparities within the justice system, as individuals from low-income communities bore the brunt of harsh sentencing laws. The consequences were far-reaching, impacting families, communities, and the overall perception of cannabis. As societal attitudes began to change, the tide began to turn in favor of cannabis reform. By the late 1990s and into the 2000s, advocates pushed for the re-evaluation of marijuana laws, emphasizing its medicinal benefits. Scientific research started to document the effectiveness of cannabinoids in treating various health conditions, such as chronic pain, epilepsy, and multiple sclerosis. This new understanding sparked a movement that challenged the long-held myths surrounding cannabis. In 1996, California became the first state to legalize medical marijuana, paving the way for other states to follow suit. As more states enacted legislation permitting cannabis for medicinal purposes, public support grew. Advocates highlighted the inequities created by criminalization and drew attention to the potential economic benefits of legalization. The push for recreational cannabis followed suit, with states like Colorado and Washington becoming pioneers in establishing regulated markets. This shift not only transformed cannabis into a legitimate industry, but also signaled a broader cultural acceptance of weed. It opened conversations about responsible use, regulation, and tax revenue, all aspects that continue to reshape the landscape of cannabis laws today. Today, cannabis legislation is in a state of flux. As of now, numerous states have legalized cannabis for recreational and medicinal use, while others are still grappling with the complexities of reform. Public opinion has shifted dramatically, with a majority of Americans supporting legalization efforts. However, challenges remain. Federal laws continue to classify cannabis as an illegal substance, creating conflicts between state and federal regulations. The need for comprehensive reform is apparent, as businesses face banking restrictions, and individuals with prior marijuana convictions seek expungement of their records. Looking ahead, the path towards further legalization involves ongoing advocacy, education, and dialogue. It is essential to address the historical injustices of cannabis prohibition, ensuring that marginalized communities benefit from the emerging cannabis economy. In conclusion, the story of cannabis and the law encapsulates a broader narrative of societal change. From its origins as a respected plant to its criminalization and subsequent reform, cannabis is no longer just a subject of debate. It is a catalyst for discussions about justice, health, and personal freedom. As we move forward, it's crucial to find a balanced approach that acknowledges the past while paving the way for a future where cannabis can be embraced responsibly and equitably.